thank you all for being here. I wanted to take a bit of an unorthodox approach. I know that students tend to do like year one, year two, year three, year four. This is all that I did. But I took inspiration from another student, George. Oh,
George's son.
okay. Was it like resonating? Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to take inspiration from another top scholar, his name is CJ, whom I love very dearly. And he actually took a different approach to his senior exit report. He took an approach where he spoke of, oh, hello? Hello? There it is. The lessons that he learned during his time at UTSA. So I'm copying him, and I'm going to speak about the lessons that I learned throughout my time at UTSA. Now, the first lesson is kind of cheating. I actually knew this lesson way before my first year in university. But this is the first lesson that I'm choosing to highlight. So the first lesson that I would like to talk to you guys about is to take every opportunity that comes your way. So pictured up there are my parents. These pictures were actually the first picture that they were took in the United States. And they were freshly, I believe, 20 or 21 years old. They had just recently migrated from San Luis Potosí, Mexico. They didn't know each other yet. They met in the States. But for both of my parents, the opportunity that they took that came their way was coming to coming to the United States and undergoing a long, treacherous journey for the opportunity of employment and of escaping a deep, entrenched cycle of poverty. And for my mom specifically, it was because she dreamed of being able to work to fund her education. She wanted a college degree, but neither of them were citizens, meaning that in terms of opportunities, they were severely limited due to their nationalities. There were language barriers, completely different customs, and yet, despite all the adversity that was thrown their way, they managed to succeed. They built a beautiful life from complete and utter scratch. So from a young age, I internalized that their success was just a starting point for me because I had the privilege of being born on the right side of the border. How could I not take every single opportunity that came my way? I was a straight A student holding multiple leadership roles, playing gigs as a violinist and a vocalist in mariachi, and I finally saw my hard work pay off when I came to selection. When I saw that everything I had worked for landed me in a space with NASA interns, with students that studied in Italy or Spain, with students that worked in the US Capitol, I said, I want that for myself. So when I got the email saying, congratulations, you've been selected as a top scholar, it was impossible for me not to take that opportunity. But nothing could have prepared me for all the doors that this scholarship program would open up for me. As you can see, I've completed during my time here 11 internships, including my dream internship with the Washington Office of Latin America. By the way, they rejected me previously, so it was really awesome that they accepted me the second time around. I also volunteered with these 3 different organizations: American Gateways, Interfaith Welcome Coalition, and Refugee Services of Texas. I volunteered as a legal translator for the past 3.5 years. I've given rights to people to their USCIS appointments, to their ICE appointments. I've offered food and resources to migrants crossing through the Greyhound bus station. I've assisted master's hearings for migrants and documented discrepancies with the American Bar Association. I also became an Archer Fellow, landing me in Washington, D.C. for a semester. A US-UK Fulbright summer alumnus, allowing me to learn about art and activism. I published a paper with Wiley's Sexuality, Gender, and Policy Studies about creating responsible data sets. I served as a Texas Civic Ambassador and mobilized a months-long project. And with my colleague Michael, I received the National Collegiate Honors Council Community Engagement Award for a project that we organized. But it doesn't end there. On top of that, I also got to visit 4 different countries, and I experienced 13 different cities. Thanks to the Top Scholar Program and the help of the UTSA Honors College support, I went to the United Kingdom, to Mexico, to Colombia, to Costa Rica, and I visited a couple different cities such as London, Bristol, Las Cruces, Juarez, San Diego, New York, Austin, Cartagena, Medellin, Paris, San Ramon, Washington, D.C., and the list goes on. And I am beyond grateful for everything that I've done. But I'm also grateful for everything I didn't do. My next lesson that I learned is that it's important to know when to say no. The first anecdote I wanted to touch on was from an experience from my freshman. Oh, sorry. It was my spring semester, and it was an internship at the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I was referred to this internship through another top scholar. Her name is Maggie Aguilar, and she told me that this would be a great experience, that she learned a lot, and I was like, okay, sure, I'll submit an application. Despite knowing that I had a crazy course load, I was taking the philosophy and literature circle with Dr. Webb, which the course is a phenomenal course and a life-changing course, and I'll get more into it further, but it was pretty time consuming. You had the Monday, Wednesday course, and then Thursday nights you would go into Dominguez State Jail and you would learn alongside incarcerated here. And so we would often be leaving around, like 10, 11, getting here at like midnight. So that was a big time commitment. On top of, the readings just being so important and thought-provoking, I really sat with a lot of good readings. I was also taking Doctora Hernandez's Border Women and Cartography Studies class. And because of the nature of the topics, we were dealing with some of the struggles that border women face. And also we were speaking of femicide. So of course I took my time with the course. I wanted to ingest everything in an intentional, careful way. And most importantly, I think from this internship, I actually really wanted a front-facing internship where I would be able to connect with people and talk to people. And yet the description of this internship said that it was very research heavy. So I think you know where this is going. I got the internship, cool, but only 4 weeks in, on the last week of February, I quit. I quit because I just couldn't do it anymore. Honestly, it wasn't because of the internship. The internship was phenomenal, and if we had a stayed there, I would have learned a lot. But there came a point where I dreaded going into work because I felt like my time could have been better spent either doing homework or volunteering or something that really, really gave me passion. And it felt awful leaving, but it just wasn't doable anymore. However, not even a week later, I was introduced to Mujeres Marcha through an Instagram post. Mujeres Marcha is a proletariat feminist grassroots coalition that's dedicated for fighting for the rights of all and the liberation of all. And that ended up jump-starting my career with community organizing. And I don't regret leaving my previous internship, but it did teach me that I have to think about decisions before committing, because otherwise I will impact those around me or I will fall short on those commitments that I promised other people. The second anecdote that I wanted to talk to you guys about was my journey to law school. If you know me, or if you knew me, I guess, you would know that law school was always in the plan for me. I was always set on receiving my Juris Doctorate right after undergraduate. And this was mainly because I believed that this was the only way that I would be able to help migrants. I thought that my role in this fight primarily consisted of me legally representing people, in the courtroom. And so I spent all of last summer studying away, and I planned to take the LSAT while I was in Washington, D.C. as an Archer Fellow. By the way, we do sign a contract saying that we're not supposed to take GRE, MCAT, LSAT, etc. But I was like, you know what? It's okay. I already registered. I'm taking it in October, and it'll be great. In those first couple of weeks, I definitely tried to make it work. But between 2 internships, night classes, Archer commitments, studying for the LSAT just fell through. It just wasn't one of my priorities. And it was exhausting. It was not sustainable for me. And it took a lot for me to reconcile with the fact that I wasn't gonna go to law school, or at least not this application cycle. I was heartbroken because I think everything that I had previously been working towards, I was thinking, well, what am I even doing all of this for? But after accepting it and making the decision to move on, I started looking at Masters of Public Policy programs, and I came across UT's Masters of Public Policy Studies program. And while being in DC, I fell in love with congressional outreach and writing effective policy that was humanities at the forefront of decision making. I applied, and I got in, and honestly, everything worked out looking back on it. So it's okay to say no to things. Things will work out. But that also leads me to my next lesson. Tangentially, another lesson that I learned was to learn what to do when you get told no. Rejection is redirection. So pictured here are some of the rejections I could find. There are so many more in my inbox, I just couldn't sift through all of it. Not pictured here are the silent rejections, the ones where these application committees will ghost you, and so you're super excited. You're like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna hold on to this little piece of hope, and just in case, they missed my application or they're delayed on their decision making. And then you open up LinkedIn, and then you see like, welcome to our 2026 intern. Like, oh, all right, okay. I was never gonna get it. However, similar to the last slide though, everything will be okay because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you get told no to. What matters is what you learn from the process and how you will use it to advance yourself. So let me find it. Right there. You can't see it because it's very small, but right there is my application for the Truman Scholarship. The Truman Scholarship was a scholarship that intended to pay for grad school, and for me, this was how I was going to pay for law school. I said that I was not ever going to get any scholarships, and that no school ever wanted me, so this was the only way that I could, number one, get into grad school, and number two, pay for it. However, obviously, I did not receive it, but what I didn't expect was that after completing this application, all the other applications that I completed were like a piece of cake. This application was definitely one of the most rigorous processes that I've ever gone through because they ask you, what are you going to do in 5 years? What are you going to do in 10 years? And what is your drive? What is your passion? Why are you doing what you're doing? And why do you care about public policy? And that really forced a lot of introspection that I think I hadn't previously thought about. So when the time came for me to start applying to grad school, I was fine. I was completely okay. And I learned a lot about myself. And so I think while I didn't get in, it was still an incredibly valuable experience. So it's okay if you get told no, and it's okay to say no to things sometimes. The next lesson that I have is that when in doubt, you lean into curiosity. So this is one of the certain practices that I've learned through Dr. Webb by taking the philosophy and literature course, which was absolutely life-changing. And mind you, when I was taking this course, I was never scared per se, but I was definitely uncertain about the unknown. I mean, everything was brand new, topics were different, and the environment was different than what I had experienced previously. But I learned so much about how to be entirely present for your community and how to foster a space where everyone feels comfortable enough to share their creativity. In fact, Michael and I were so inspired that we created Beyond the Block San Antonio, which was inspired by Hudson Lake for higher education in Austin and New York. We had 9 speakers, over 120 attendants, and we stopped counting at some point. But trust me, we had so many questions. I mean, we didn't know anything, honestly, at all. Tuesday, no, yeah. But whenever we had questions, we would simply ask, who can we turn to and ask about this? Who can we ask for advice? And ultimately, we ended up emailing a lot of people. So many people. So many people. But that's how we ended up creating a network of connections that we were able to rely on whenever we needed to make some of those hard decisions. So when in doubt, you have to lean into curiosity. And you just have to ask more questions. Don't be afraid of it. Another example that I have up there is my journey with coding and data analysis. So I will soon be graduating with my data science certificate. And the reason that this interest was piqued was because I mentioned the class that I took with Dr. Fernandez called Border Women Literature and Cartography. And something that I wasn't expecting was how heavy on the data sets it was going to be. Actually, a lot of it was analyzing data and then being able to make conclusions from that. And those skills that I learned actually landed me a co-author position on a paper regarding creating responsible data sets to rehumanize those impacted. As we know, statistics they'll be like descriptive and they'll be really good for analysis, but sometimes it makes us forget about the harm that those statistics entail. So it's very important to rehumanize the victim so that it's not like they're just a number, you know? Additionally, it landed me a lab position in which I was coding in HTML, which is very interesting. The lab position was with Fuerza Feminista, which is the logo up there, and these were my co-lab mates. When I was offered the position, I was basically just told a description of the lab. And so what we work on is documenting the testimonies of mothers of femicide victims. And obviously that takes a lot of care and a lot of intentionality. And I heard what the project was about, and I didn't ask any more questions. I said, yes, I'm right there. What I didn't realize was that they were actually going to have me building a website and working in HTML. So I ended up doing just okay, and I actually learned quite a bit from that. And from there, I decided that I wanted to take a data science certificate and learn a couple more languages. So now I've learned a little bit of SQL. I feel pretty comfortable in Python and making good visualizations. But I will say it's definitely been some of the most challenging courses I've ever taken in my entire life. And that's where, I have to remind myself to lean, when in doubt, lean into curiosity and just ask questions. Additionally, I ended up using these skills in many, many ways. So for example, I did research in the Paso del Norte region. This was me presenting my research. And that's Ciudad Juarez, that's El Paso, Texas, and that's Las Cruces, New Mexico. And my research was on investigating human rights abuses by authorities like La Guardia Nacional, SEVP officers, and ultimately all of these skills that I've used, I ended up using to plot the official checkpoints of El Instituto Nacional de Migración in Mexico. And I was basically making the point that it is incredibly difficult to traverse through the country without being encountered by officials, which would increase migrants' risk of victimization. And also my research was completely new to me. We were doing community-based participatory research, which means that you work on fostering connections and building community, and then you conduct interviews. And there's a lot of say from the community members and the people that, whose testimonies that we're taking. And it's just very like a kind of research that is informed by the people and it is for the people. And I have a lot of questions about this. I had never thought about research in that way. And so that was another one of the ways in which I was able to lean into curiosity and ended up just asking my professors so many questions. And the next lesson I learned, and I'm still working on relearning it, I think like every year and every final season in particular, is that sleep matters and health matters. I used to be able to pull multiple all-nighters and run on absolutely no sleep. But I'm getting old, my back hurts, my joints. And it actually took 2 Dramamine last night to recover from a previous night out, and I'm still a little tired to this day. So sometimes it's necessary to push yourself, right? But what I've come to find out is that you will be utmost productive if you take care of your body. So that means getting your steps in, drinking water, sleeping, and spending time doing things that revitalize you, whether that's hanging out with amazing friends, dancing, baking, etc. You just have to take care of yourself, But it did take me 4 years to learn that, and I'm still relearning it as we go. The next lesson that I have is that if you want community, you have to be community. As I mentioned, this is something that I learned from Dr. Rice's class. If we want to foster connections and create a space where everyone can feel dignified and safe, it takes effort. Listening to others intently, creating community agreements and rules to ensure that everyone feels comfortable. It is a circle practice, yes, but it has guided me throughout all of my relationships. And oftentimes that means going the long route or being slightly inconvenienced. It can be showing up after a long day. It can be offering rides to people who you aren't super close to. But that is how you build community. I saw this a lot by my boss at the Washington office, Latin America. Yeah, Washington office of Latin America. Jimena Sanchez, who is a phenomenal communicator. And the reason that she's able to do the work that she does with Afro-Colombian and indigenous populations is that they feel comfortable with her representing their wants and needs. Because it spent a lot of time and effort nurturing the relationships and understanding them through calls, messages, even if she's super busy, and I think she was busy, I worked for her. But ultimately, I mean, my goal is to extend human rights across the Americas by listening to people directly impacted. And my positionality as a US citizen places on me the responsibility to develop this work with utmost care and intentionality. And I mean, I want to create safe communities where people's rights are respected and have access to basic needs. But to do so, I have to be community. So my next lesson here is to rely on your support system. Yes, we have a lot of pictures here, and it was hard to narrow it down to these pictures, honestly. But I want to say that all of my accomplishments were not an individual effort, they were an aggregate effort. Because it was Michael who was there for me when my grandma passed during my time at Archer, and for every single other possible situation. Because it's always been Anna who I can turn to for one advice. Because it's always been Zaina who I can trust to light in the room and go with me to get a sleep treat regardless of the time. Because it's been Kayla who's proofread everything I've ever submitted in my entire life. Because it's Hector and Dahlia who host me in Austin and allow me to remember that life is so much more than academics. Because Tejas always had the right thing to say. Because of my awesome boyfriend, for being himself and for being someone that I can count on to tell me that I can do anything I set my mind on. And for lending an ear to any minor inconvenience. Because it's been my family who's cheered me on at every step of the way. Because of my amazing mentors, Dr. Fernandez, Dr. Centeno, Dr. Webb, and Dr. Thomas, and so many more who have guided me along the way. Because of my amazing bosses and professors who have written on my behalf, even on super tight deadlines. I'm so sorry, Eliane. I think you are on the Zoom, but yeah, guys, she got back to me a letter of recommendation in like record time. It was like 2 or 3 days. She's awesome. She's so great. I should have done that, but it worked out. It worked out in the end. For all the long-lasting friendships that I've created in San Antonio and while I've been abroad, I will never forget every single one of you. In fact, that you've had on me. For Christy, Fernando, George, Allegra, Dr. Fourier, Stacey Garza, this instinct is never to say no. Rather, let's see how we can work this out. So take a moment to appreciate all the pictures. And this is not a lesson, but this is something that we usually do as part of our end of year presentations. So what's next? As I mentioned earlier, I will be completing a Master's of Global Policy Studies, and it is funded. I know that's right. And the Master's of Global Policy Studies actually has a language requirement, so I'm getting a head start on that language requirement by attending the Wisconsin Intensive Language Summer Institute, and I'll be doing the Summer Intensive Portuguese Institute because Brazil is a part of Latin America. And so yeah, so I'll be getting a head start, and that is also scholarship. So, yes. I want to end this presentation with something that I recently read in my migration and development course. This is in reference to Mexicans and Central American migrants. These migrants' children progress a great deal relative to their parents, with an average education of 12 years, but they do not reach parity with the general population of native-born. This outcome mostly reflects the low levels of schooling, English proficiency, and other forms of human capital their parents bring to the United States. Against all odds, I beat the statistics, and it's all been thanks to my amazing family, my lovely friends, my amazing mentors, and of course the Top Scholar program. Thank you.
I can't express just how much you've added to our program, our institution, Melissa, Christy, myself, and our time knowing you. I constantly recall that Michael and you were two of the first scholars in general that I met when I was first boarding, and Christy was giving me kind of a tour of the facilities. And since then, we've been so fortunate to know you, and I've been so fortunate to know you and connect with you, and now see you end your undergrad and go on to LBJ. My advice for you, please never lose the fire that you have, because it is truly, truly palpable, and we know you're going to go on to great things. I also just want to wish you well as you begin that global policy studies master's. And learning Portuguese too.
Yeah, I'm excited.
As that was happening, I saw Fernando in the chat say she's gonna go change the world next too. So we are gunning for you. We hope that you remember us and come back and visit and continue to reach back out to the folks that are continuing the legacy that you and your peers have built. So with that said, anyone else from special programs or the Honors College that has any commentary, any questions for Jasbeth?
There's little I can say. I just think the combination of your intelligence, your compassion, and your curiosity will make you so fun. So fun. Thank you. So as I'm watching your presentation, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, it's like really the only word I can say. Right? It's incredible. You talk about life lessons, and I think you've already had a lifetime of lessons that are learning.
Oh yeah.
A short amount of time. But that's not the end. That's just the beginning of the journey. So it's such an incredible experience to see you on that. It's totally looking forward to what comes next in the future and the change maker you're going to be, but also the legacy you leave behind as, a valued member of this community. You're going to be such an inspiration for so many coming in. So congratulations. We're so happy to see you flourish and continue to go on and do incredible things.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm Andrea Lemon from Political Science and Geography. We're just one of our majors. I think I met you 2 years ago, 2, 3, but gosh, no, first got to UTSA.
Yeah,
So
seriously.
it's just been amazing seeing your journey. You're one of those rare students who has like, you're brilliant, you're enthusiastic, and you also have charisma, like all together. So it's just like having that all together and seeing that you're so passionate and excited to keep pushing forward. I too am just excited to see what you're gonna do next. I didn't know you got into the LBJ school. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. I hope that you don't forget us here and like keep in touch and you can see how you're doing, but I'm so happy for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Anyone else that would like to share any comments, questions on Jasbeth's presentation?
You have several comments in the chat, you're reading them.
Oh, I have it. I am happy to read them. Let's see here. I think it's there. Aw, thank you, Christy. Wait, haha, LMAO.
Starting with Jade.
Oh, wait, go down. You're amazing, Jasmine. Aw. Oh, yes. And then I saw Fernando say, she gonna go change the world next to. So true. Margot said, congratulations, Jasbeth. You are incredible. Nicole said, yay, Jazz. Thank you, Nicole, for tuning in. Amika Center said, we're so proud of you. Oh, and Maria said, congratulations, Jasmeth. Amika was so lucky to have you. I was lucky to be had by Amika. Amika was so great. I think, don't tell anyone, but I think it was my best internship experience. I loved Amika. It was so good. Tejas said, you're awesome, Jazz. Thank you, Tejas. Dr. O'Leary said, congratulations, Jasbeth. We were so grateful for your contribution to the Archer Center. Thank you so much, Dr. O'Leary. Yay! Oh my gosh. For context, Kayla was my roommate, and easily one of my closest friends ever. So, oh, so sweet. Kayla said, I am so proud of you, Jasbeth. From the day we met in selection to now, you remain incredible, diligent, empathetic, and kind. I'm so proud and grateful for you and our friendship, and I look forward to our time together in Austin and the work you will do to change the world for the better. Awesome. Maria said, LBJ has the best graduation still color. So jealous. So true, Maria. Dr. Centeno said, congratulations, Jasbeth. You are an amazing student and person, and you will do great things in life. Thank you so much. Maddie Aguilar said, so proud of you, Jasbeth. You're amazing, and I am so excited for all the adventures yet to come. Thank you so much. Stacey Garza said, congratulations, Jasbeth. Your dedication and perseverance have been truly exceptional. You've demonstrated outstanding leadership and unwavering commitment to seeing things through. Well done. Thank y'all so much. Thank you for the comments. You guys are awesome. So sweet. Oh.
When I first met Jasmine, I wasn't sure if I was gonna like her, so it's like, there's no way someone's actually that happy. But then I actually got to know her and I was like, wow, she's like actually like that bubbly and that happy and that great. And I am so happy and so proud of you. And I'm not gonna cry right now, well, I'll get it, but I hope we never, ever stop being friends. You have been a defining part of my undergrad. And I kind of you. Or whatever.
Fernando has his hand up, so.
Yes, let's see. Thank you, Anita.
Alrighty, can you hear me? Awesome. Well, I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I just want to say congratulations, super proud of you. It's so crazy that like these 4 years have totally like flown by, but you are incredible. You are amazing, and you're going to change the world. And I can't believe that I had, a part to play in that. So thank you for everything. Super excited. I think the thing that I'm going to miss the most is getting those little random desserts, here in Valentine's Day. But don't forget the little people. I'm super proud of you. And yeah, wow.
Thank you so much, Fernando. You're so sweet. I will continue to bring you little sweets. I'm only an hour and a half away, so.
But I think what the undertone of that for me and I think for everyone listening is a big thing to yourself and the respect and dedication that comes down to yourself. There's not a problem you haven't solved. There's nothing you haven't, a challenge you haven't met with, resolve and an amazing outfit on and wear a smile. And I
life learns is that everything is manageable, everything is solvable, and there's always, as you said, redirection. So I hope that you give yourself as much credit as you give everyone else in your life and then some, because it's your drive and your passion, and also your desire to do through certain other people and a positive legacy. And that makes you so remarkable, so special, and I think our program is beyond what needs to have.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much, Dana. So true. Oh.
The stranger has his hand.
Hi guys. Hello Jazz. I think there's so much that could be said about you, but I think the one thing I'll say that I really admire about you is the way you handle and approach delicacy when it comes to just human to human problems and challenges of, the big kind and the everyday kind. And I think it really speaks to the compassion and empathy you have for the people in your world and the people that you want to serve and the communities you want to help make better. And I think that's something about you that's just so intrinsic and so, unique to you. And so I'm better for it as a human being. I've learned so much by watching you just be that person. And I know you're going to continue to do these amazing and awesome things. And so I just say, please keep being you. And thank you for everything that you are.
Thank you so much, Tejas. You are awesome. I am nothing without you.
Anyone else here? Yes.
So I've only known you this past semester, and I did not know the extent of your talent. But I'm not really surprised. But I think part of that just goes to show that you have this I'm sorry, I've got a cold, but you have this humility and grace to you, and like he was saying, you have this delicacy that you just carry with you. And I think that it's so easy for people to get caught up in all the achievements and the gold and the straight A's and all of that. And that matters, right? But in all of that, it's what you've done with it and how you've impacted other people. And I think the humility that you have is something that institutions right now, especially need more than ever. And I'm so happy to see somebody like you pursuing that, because you're going to be one of the people that actually change people's day-to-day lives who need to be next. And I'm glad you're doing it. I'm just really happy for you and everybody that you'll impact it.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Also, guys, by the way, Lauren just got into the Archer program, so congratulations. Hey. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Just that,
Bro, lock in.
I've gotten to get just like a small taste of how hard I've seen you work.
Oh.
I'm just
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it.
Raise hand from Margot.
Oh, Margot.
Hi. Thank you so much for inviting me to see your presentation. I just wanted to say out loud, you are so amazing. Maddie and I are live texting during this going, I can't believe this, like this and that, and data science and 11 internships. Like, we're just so impressed by you and so grateful to have known you. And I'm glad I got to see you a little bit recently in DC. And I hope I see you again very soon. All my
Yes.
love.
Right back at you, Margot. You're awesome. Also, worthy of noting that it was actually thanks to Margot and Maddie's advice that I decided to take on the data science stuff. So they're awesome too. They are amazing.
Right. Thank you so much, Jasbeth.
Thank you. I'm just gonna keep those on here.